A group of divers, including this guy who we're just about to talk to, has found a 100-metre long underground tunnel on the Limestone coast of South Australia, which they hope might link two separate caves together. It's a magical world down there. Josh Richards is the team leader of the Soggy Wombats, the group that found the tunnel, and he joins us now from Adelaide. Soggy Wombat Josh, welcome. So your passion is so scary for so many people, squeezing through underwater crevices. What's the attraction for you in this?
Ultimately, it's stunningly beautiful down there. So for folks who are watching from the surface, they assume that we're squeezing into these muddy, filthy little holes, and a lot of the time we are if we're checking new places, but ultimately we're down there to try and find enormous glistening white tunnels that often the colours down there are the biggest appeal. There was a cave that I was diving Sunday morning which was almost electric blue down there because of the limestone and the light. So it really is truly stunning to see.
Okay, so we started with an image behind me of you standing at the entrance to the pine caves. Before you came across this extra 100 metres of tunnel recently, what's the extent of known caves through there?
So Pines Cave in particular is quite a large cave. It has a significant cavern zone, which is that photo that you would have been looking at.
Yep.
And from there, it very quickly drops down to about 34 metres, weaving through about 60 to 70 metres of tunnel. Back in the early 2000s, a pair of Czech doctors discovered a new tunnel running off it, and that runs along at about 34 metres for another 80 or so metres before it leads up into quite a significant chamber that's roughly 25 to 30 metres wide, and it's about 20 metres high. So it's this enormous room that's essentially sitting underneath a road that has logging trucks driving straight over the top of it. And it's off that room that we've then found another extension, a further 100 metres. So all up, the cave's about 300 metres long now, and before we discovered this 100, it was about 200. And
so are there ripples through the water when the trucks run over the top?
There's no ripples, but I can tell you that some divers don't like diving in that particular cave when the logging trucks are pretty active.
I can understand
people
why.
Get a little bit nervous.
Okay, so yeah, you've just described how there is a section that you've got to go through before you get to this tunnel that you found. How long does it take diving to actually get to the start of this tunnel which you've just discovered?
It varies on the diver significantly. So for most people, just getting to the crazy check room, as it's referred to, is a huge dive in itself. And arguably it's one of the most dangerous dives in the entire region, just because of the depths that are involved. You have to go quite deep, swim at depth for quite a while, and then come back up to quite a shallow area. And if you have an issue with your ears trying to descend again, it can cause major issues. So for most divers, just getting there would be generally a 50 to 60 minute dive to get there and get back. In our case, we know the way fairly well, and we're generally getting to the CCR in about 7 to 8 minutes in order to save as much gas as we can so that we can then push into the new area.
Okay, yeah, I got a lump in my throat just seeing those images and hearing you talk about it. And so when you did this dive, and how long ago was it when you found the tunnel? So it was kind of just only 7 minutes to get to this point. How long were you doing this exploration of this new tunnel for?
So I've been diving this particular site for roughly 4 or 5 years now, and lots of people have been diving and exploring it for 30 plus years. We got an inkling using some technology, some three-dimensional modelling of the cave using photogrammetry, that there might be something interesting in this one particular corner around October, November last year. So I started poking around down there, found a little bit of water movement. So we very often look for water flow moving amongst the rocks as a good sign, as that's the direction that we should be heading. So,
and how can you tell there is water flow in an area that's just kind of jam-packed with water? It's not as if you can look down and see bubbles or anything.
Can't see bubbles, but what you can do is naturally moving around, you'll tend to disturb the silt. The limestone turns into very soft silt very quickly, and the movement of that silt will often tell you which way the water's moving, if it's moving at all.
And so what was it like for you to see the silt moving and then poke? And is this you poking through this new tunnel?
I can't see the footage at the moment,
right,
but I
okay.
would presume it probably is. Yeah.
Okay. So what was it like for you, that moment where you like noticed the silt moving and then kind of poked your way through and found there was a tunnel there?
So there were two big moments for us. One was finding that initial silt movement, which was very, very exciting. And we write on our slates, we usually have like a plastic and carbon pencil that we can write on our slate. And I have a photo of my slate from that day that just has big flow, probable lead, saying there's water moving through here. This is definitely something very exciting. Making our way through there, it was exciting, but there was still work to be done. What I'd essentially done is made our way into a rock pile, and then it took probably 2 months of regular diving to be able to find my way through that actual rock pile to another hole on the other side. And when we finally found that other hole and moved a few things around to be able to look through, we could tell there was a massive tunnel underneath. And the first time I popped out into that tunnel was a pretty stunning experience.
Wow.
Just knowing we'd found this enormous thing that people have been diving for 5 decades in some cases. So.
And I've got another big lump in my throat when you're talking about moving things around down there.
Very gently, very, very gently.
Yeah. And as it kind of became longer and longer, were you so surprised to see how long that tunnel was?
There was, again, 2 stages to it.
Yeah.
Where we first popped down, it was into quite a dark room, quite a large dark room. And so went, yep, this is exciting, but I'm not so sure if there's anything that we're going to find further than this. And when I swam another 30 or so metres, the cave suddenly turned to the south, and I popped out into this absolutely enormous room. It was just truly stunning. So quite a long tunnel, very, very high roof. So the distance between where I was down near the bottom to where the actual ceiling was about 15 metres.
Wow.
So when you're in something like that, it's
Yeah.
just, it's stunning.
But it's not as if you popped out. It's not as if you can take your gear off and take a few breaths because you're still underwater. There's no air pocket there.
So we carry everything with us. We're carrying multiple cylinders. In most cases, when we're diving this particular site, we're generally jumping in with at least 4 separate cylinders, and you'll leave those different cylinders at different points in the cave. You never have less than 2 on you, but you will leave the others along the way so that you can then come back and breathe through them on the way out.
And what's the max time that you can spend down there?
Really depends on the depth. In this case, most of the cave is roughly 30 metres. So once we're being safe with our gas, we're conserving the percentages, the emergency gas that we need to. We're generally doing about 2 hours in order to get there and then get all the way back to the surface again.
Wow. And you're comfortable for that 2 hours?
I love it, to be honest with you. I am very much a water baby. I learned to scuba dive as soon as I turned 12. And I'm remarkably comfortable in very dark underwater environments.
Good stuff. Okay, Soggy Wombat Josh, thanks so much for having a chat to us, and really keen to hear from you again when you see if you can link this tunnel to something else.
That's certainly the hope. Thanks, Joe.
Cheers.